was my takeaway from that Herman Hesse book, Steppenwolf. And I mentioned he had been doing therapy with Carl Jung, which I think so interesting at the time. And that was part of how Jung helped him, was he just explained to him, you're not crazy, you don't have multiple personality disorder. It's simply we all have countless voices in our heads, and the goal is to integrate them or get them to play nice together, that they have to get along somehow for you to be a well integrated human. And I
So
think
like, so if I'm sorry. So if we have schizophrenia, right? Schizophrenia would be not in the integrated state, or how would you define um, schizophrenia as opposed to the normal brain integration?
um, when I did look into schizophrenia a few years back, I became very frustrated as a philosopher trying to get a definition for it. And the conclusion I came to, and please correct me, Dr. Tracy, or anyone, if I'm off, but I kind of felt that schizophrenia was being used almost like this umbrella term, and with different types of dissociative disorders and stuff, but included within that would have been the multiple personality disorder, would have been like under that umbrella. Is that, am I understanding that correctly? But I couldn't get just a concrete definition of schizophrenia itself.
Are you saying that multiple personality disorder is within schizophrenia? Is that what you're
I
saying?
just understood schizophrenia as more of an umbrella term, and then you had specific conditions under that. And I would have seen multiple personality disorder as a subset.
Yeah, actually, schizophrenia is a separate disorder from multiple personality disorder. Um,
We have an expert.
so I think what you might be looking at is psychosis, that the experience of psychosis, being in not within your own, not within reality, is something that one can see in a lot of different disorders. So that in and of itself, I think that rather it be schizophrenia, I think it's psychosis that perhaps you're talking about
Do
being
you have a
separated.
working definition of schizophrenia for us?
Again, schizophrenia is it's considered a brain disorder that has to do with um, being out of touch with reality, but it's really having to do with you can have schizophrenia and still be in touch with reality. It's just whether you're in a psychotic episode or not. And that what that is involved in is hallucinations, whether it be visual, auditory, it can be even somatic type of sensory hallucinations and delusions. And then there's also a problem socially, that you have difficulties socializing with other people. So those are the three main areas according to the DSM-5. But yeah, it's in its own category,
I can
schizophrenia.
see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does that make
And
sense?
so schizophrenia is having more to do with psychosis. Would it also have to do with neurosis?
Um,
Or is neurosis
neurosis
even considered a
is
disorder?
kind of an older term. However, when you're thinking about neuroses, you're talking about like heightened anxieties, and those usually interplay with, like, say, an anxiety disorder or personality disorder, or so neuroses are usually separate from psychoses.
Okay.
And neuroses is what Sigmund Freud was talking about, the various things that people will do in order to cope with various stressors in their world.
Right. And at least the distinction I understood between neuroses and psychoses is people with neuroses usually find tools or means to manage their neuroses,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah,
can still live and interact with others, where someone that has suffered psychoses or a psychotic break has lost that ability.
yeah, and you're absolutely right. When you're dealing with people who have neuroses, you're talking about people who have they're still in touch with reality. They still know who they are, where they are, what they're doing. They're not in a fantasy world that's detached from reality. However, psychoses is when they have that very detachment from reality. They might think they're someone that who they're not, or they're living in a place which they're not, but they're not in touch with reality. So that's really the difference there is being in touch versus not being in touch with reality.
All right, very good.
Thank you.